Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another WESC webinar. My name is Ali Ramsey. I'm WESC's Communications Coordinator, so we're so happy to have all of you here today. Our topic today is Building Trust in the Workplace, which is presented by Tracy Kowalchuk, Leadership and Development Coach. Hi, Tracy. If you have any questions for Tracy as we go along, please put them in the Q&A box, and she will answer them as we go. However, you can also use that the chat box to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your business as well. And as always, this webinar will be recorded, and you will get a link to the recording 24 hours from now via your email. And with that, I'll pass it over to Tracy.
Great. Thanks so much, Ali. Hello, everyone. It looks like there's a few people just starting to get on there, so welcome. And I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves in a bit here. So I'm Tracy Kowalchuk, and my company is called TK & Associates. I'm a leadership coach. And today we'll be focusing on building trust in the workplace. Because I'm a coach, we'll probably try to make this a little bit interactive. Even though you aren't actually able to speak, I'm going to ask you to participate via chat. So it's going to kind of be like a conversation-like session. And also just grab a piece of paper and pen and take some notes down on some things that you'd like to make note of. Just going to start my, share my screen here, so just bear with me. Okay. So let's start off by doing some introductions. So we'll do this in the chat box. Your name, your business, and maybe one thing you might want to get out of today's session. Hi, Terry. Karen, a registered massage therapist. Okay. Tori, an elementary school vice principal. Thank you to you for keeping all of our kids safe. Tori. Eric, VP at Bridges Health. Great to see you again, Tracy. Hi, Eric. Nice to see, well, sort of see you. Nice to hear your voice via your chat room. Who else do we have? Anyone else? And maybe pop in something that you're hoping to get out of this session. That would be great too. And at any time, you can just pop that stuff in the chat. We'll just continue for now. So this is this trust is of the focus of our day today, is part of the model that's created by Patrick Lencioni, the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, which I also facilitate, and trust being the foundation there. So we'll start with this question. What does it look like? Sorry, I have to change my screen here. What does it look like to have trust in the workplace? So maybe pop some of that information. In your workplaces, what is it like to have trust in the workplace? Victoria, always keen to get new ideas and perspectives on building strong teams. Great, yes. So what are some things that you think contribute to what trust looks like in the workplace? I'm going to put some up here. Being unguarded and genuine with one another. And again, just pop in with some other ideas that you have. Apologizing and being open about weaknesses and mistakes. Giving one another the benefit of the doubt rather than jumping to conclusions. Always safe to share thoughts. Yeah, that's right. and helping one another for help and input regarding areas of responsibility. Anything else to add to that? Yeah, feeling safe to share your thoughts. That's exactly it.
So let's go ahead and get.
Okay, so I'm about to show you a video about Patrick Lencioni, and he talks about vulnerability-based trust. So, and someone else, oh, Victoria put, knowing you can always count on each other to have your back in tough situations. Yes, and I can imagine, Tori, that during this pandemic and this last year that you've had to have each other's backs a lot, right? So let's listen to this video. I'm just gonna back up a second here.
So let's go ahead and get started and talk about the first behavior that we have to master to make our teams great. And that behavior is trust. Now that sounds obvious, doesn't it? You're thinking, no duh, is this really anything new? Well, the thing about trust that's important is most of us think about trust as what I call predictive trust. That we have to be able to predict one another's behaviors. Well, any group of people, any two people that have known each other for a long period of time will have predictive trust with one another. They'll be able to predict one another's behaviors. If I say something, you know that this is what I'm probably gonna do. Or if you tell me that you're gonna do something, I know what's actually going to happen. I can predict your behavior. That's not really trust when it comes to a team. The kind of trust that I'm talking about on a team is what I call vulnerability-based trust. Vulnerability-based trust is the kind of trust that comes about when human beings on a team can and will say things to one another like, I don't know the answer, I need help, I think I made a mistake, or even I'm sorry, I think I did something that was wrong. When they can be completely vulnerable about who they are, mistakes and warts and all, it creates a dynamic on a team that is just invaluable. And we all know how powerful this can be if we think about teams we've been on that didn't have vulnerability-based trust. And we've all experienced that in our careers.
Any comments on that video? Pop them in the chat. And while you're doing that, think of a time when you lacked trust in a coworker or teammate, and offer it up in the chat and how this affected your work. So I'll give you a moment to think about that. While you're thinking about that as well, I'll share an example of mine. You know, I had a number of years back, I had a person that I was a direct report to, and she would do all of my hiring for me. We were doing all the hiring together for a team. And this woman was really like, how would you say it? She really favored men. She liked men, and what she did, and as my boss, she oftentimes would lean towards hiring men who were less qualified than the women, clearly. And, you know, she had kind of had the final word on things, and how that affected my workplace, because then she was off and I had to work with this team, is that I didn't always have the best team with the right things together. So really knowing that she had that tendency kind of made me not trust her judgment when it came to working on these projects and being able to go to her. So that's an example of mine. Anyone else want to pop in an experience there? It's a little bit tough to try to put it in the chat, but if you can briefly describe something, I'd love to hear it. Sharing experiences is what helps. Okay, I'm just going to keep going on, and again, pop it in the chat if you have some an opportunity to share that. Now, here's something that's interesting for you to consider. What makes it easier for you to build trust? So pop that in the chat. What makes you feel like you want to or are more apt to build trust with someone? What do you need? Anyone? For me, it's an open communication. When I know that you know, someone has open communication and they're not holding back their thoughts, then I'm more apt to trust. Anyone else agree with that one? Any other comments on that? So in essence, trust means confidence among coworkers and team members that peers and intentions are good and that there is no room for protective or careful, being careful around the group. And teammates must get comfortable with being vulnerable with one another. So here's something that we're going to work on together next. And again, it'll be a little bit difficult to do in the chat, but I'll ask you to take some time to do this. It's a personal histories exercise. So in the chat, place where did you grow up? How many siblings do you have? Where you fall in the sibling order? And what was an important or unique challenge in your childhood of being a kid? So feel free to pop that in the text box, and once we've all gone through ours, I'll read it to everyone, then we can move on. So again, where did you grow up? How many siblings do you have? Where do you fall in the sibling order? And what was an important or unique challenge in your childhood? And we hear from Eric. Saskatoon, he grew up. He's 3 siblings and he's the eldest. And I was the one who took the risks and was the first at everything good and bad. Right, you were the first project of your parents. Great, thank you for sharing that, Eric. And Karen Philippowicz said, grew up on a farm by Norquay, 4th out of 5 kids. Wow, that's a big family. And middle child syndrome. So maybe you can expand on telling us what that experience was like, Victoria. Terry, in rural Manitoba, the eldest of 4, and you liked being busy. So as we're waiting, if anybody else wants to add, what I want to explain is taking this. If you have staff, and Tori, you were talking about you're a principal of a staff, and a lot of times when we've even worked with people, I just worked with a team who had worked together for over 20 years. We did this exercise, and they really, and when you do it in a conversation style rather than a chat box, there's some more vulnerability that is that's being built there. You can really go, wow, I had no idea this about you, even though I've worked with you for 20 years, and it starts to build that. So feel free to take this exercise and use it with your teams if you like. Okay, and here's some other questions, and I'm just going to offer you up this again to use with your teams. These are some other vulnerability-based trust questions that you can do when you're having your team meetings, your staff meetings. You can pop in a little professional development and kind of like an icebreaker. And these are some ideas that you can use. Describe a time when you felt the most frightened. What was your first job, your worst job? Other than your parents who had this greatest positive impact, what did this person do and how did you feel about it? What are you most proud of professionally and personally? And what is a mistake you made professionally that you wish you hadn't and personally? Describe a mistake that you made and how you responded and recovered. So I think we could probably share these slides with you if you're interested. You can shoot Allie an email and you can make use of these for. That was just a brief interlude. Hope you all enjoyed that little bit. Okay, my kids got me singing Fancy Like lately and doing the dance. Okay, getting back to sharing screen and to the topic at hand. Okay, so let's talk about this in the chat a little bit. What are some reasons that you may hold back? So think about your experiences. And pop that in the chat, please. On your teams or in your workplace, what are some of the reasons that you hold back? Anyone? Fear of ridicule. Yes, of course. We don't want to feel like our ideas are not worth listening to, or that someone thinks that they are ridiculous. Anyone else? Fear of disapproval, which is similar to fear of ridicule. Not wanting to lose influence. Fear of being perceived as naive. And anticipating negativity, so having people shut down your ideas. What are some reasons that others may hold back? Can you pop any ideas in the chat of what some reasons are that you think that other people may hold back? Not wanting to appear incompetent, fear of looking foolish or weak, fear of disapproval, and not wanting to be taken advantage of. Fear of a loss of control, not wanting to be a burden, fear of being disliked, and fear of a loss of harmony. You know, some people don't want to rock that boat. If you think of any others, do pop them in the chat here. So we're going to do a little poll here, and Allie's going to place that up for you here in a moment. What would you do while using one of your team's primary software platforms? You accidentally delete a large box of data. Working on your own, you manage to restore the information, and you're about 90% confident there will be no adverse effects from this issue. What would you do next? Keep the issue to yourself. Wait to see if any teammates encounter problems, and if they do, explain what happened. Proactively notify your teammates of the situation. So I get you to answer that poll, and we'll see what everybody chose to do. Proactively notify your teammates of the situation. Yes, great, thank you. So the best answer, of course, by notifying the team immediately, you give your colleagues the chance to check whether their own work has been affected, and the team can respond quickly to any issues that have arisen. And you also contribute to a team culture of trust and send the message that it's okay to admit mistakes. And we'll do another what would you do here, and Ellie's going to put up that poll. You present a proposal during a team meeting and one colleague immediately dismisses your idea. You can't think of any practical reasons for the teammate's opposition and you begin to wonder whether they have something against you personally. What would you do next? Shrug off this instance, but expect that they might not be on your side going forward. Pull them aside and request an explanation of their response to your proposal. Ask a second trusted teammate if they notice the same thing that you did and get their advice. And we'll just get you to finish that poll. Okay, so we have a few different choices here. 1, shrug off. 2, pull them aside. And 1, ask a second trusted teammate. So we'll close this poll and see what the best answer is. B, pull them aside and request an explanation of their response to your proposal. Talking to your teammate directly allows you to both stay on the same page, and they may present reasoning that had not occurred to you, or you may discover a difference in approach or communication style that can be talked through. So really choosing some things to continue to build trust. So let's talk about being vulnerable. In the chat, why do you hold back from being vulnerable? And normally we would be going into small groups to do this today, but I'll just ask you to pop some stuff in the chat. What can you do to be more comfortable being vulnerable with coworkers and teammates? And what could others do to make it easier for you? So we talked about holding back a little bit before. Let's focus on the second question. What can you do to be more comfortable being vulnerable with coworkers and teammates? So you yourself, what can you do to be more comfortable? For me, it's taking the time. I often am so focused on results that I forget that we need to take time to chat about things and maybe ask some of those questions on the previous slide to really get to know teammates. Anyone else have some ideas? Yeah, it can take time. Get to know them well, connect with them, building a personal connection. Yes, that's right. And so Eric, here's a question to pose you just as an alternative. What if you don't have time and you need to put together a team? You know, I was thinking about this very recently when we had our federal election. And, you know, those teams have to come together quite quickly, and you often are on political campaigns of people that you don't know really well. So how can you build trust if you don't have a lot of time? Oh, great, Kathy. Vulnerable means different things to different people. I use different words like open, communicate. I'm here to help you. That's right. So choosing the language, you know, when knowing your team. Great, yeah. Yes, that makes so much sense to me, Kathy, because, you know, vulnerability can be like telling your whole life story, which some people are comfortable with, and vulnerability to someone else may be like, you know, telling you their dog's name, you know, which it might be big for them too. So yeah, absolutely. So let's go to the third question as well. Okay, I assign tasks that are easily done, but put timelines in place. Getting that done on time allows people to trust that if nothing else, the work will get done. So having a structure and letting people know ahead of time, like not coming to them at the last minute and saying, I need this in 5 minutes. Great, thanks for sharing that, Eric. And what could others do to make it easier for you? So now kind of focus on yourself and think about what makes you want to be vulnerable. For me, it's honesty in that, as I mentioned before, the communication, just knowing where I'm at with someone really makes me feel like it's easier for me to be vulnerable with them. So I'm just going to go back to you, Tori, when you talked about, for other people, building a personal connection with them. How do people build a personal connection with you? And Eric said transparency. Yes, that's a great word. That's the one I was looking for. Thank you. Oh, Karen's losing her connection here. So we're still here, Karen. When you can be in here, jump in and connect with us. So Tori said, get to know me and how I do my job. Recognize my strengths so that when my weaknesses are visible, I know that you are not seeing just my weaknesses. That's right. And so, Tori, just to add on to that, part of this program that I do with teams is we do a personality assessment, either the Myers-Briggs type indicator or the DISC assessment. And part of that is, again, getting to know each other, and I always use this example, where one of the first times I did this years ago, that when I did DISC with this particular team, they go, huh, so that guy's not a jerk. That's not the word she used. That guy's not a jerk. That's just the way he operates. And it was just like mind-blowing. People just getting to know that that's how you process things. That's what your needs are when it comes to being vulnerable and getting results. So yes, exactly. Recognizing who I am, getting to know me. Thanks, Tori. Any other comments on that? Great, thanks for sharing those. So building trust, the key points here is trust is the foundation of a successful workplace. Trust is all about vulnerability, which is difficult for most people. Building trust takes time, but the process can be greatly accelerated if we can have the courage to be vulnerable. So courage, that's what it comes down to. And like any good relationship, trust in the workplace is never complete. It must be maintained over time. So even though you can get there real quick, sometimes if needed, you still need to maintain that relationship over time. So I'm going to just give you a few moments here to take down some notes and maybe come up with an action plan as a result of some of the information that you learned today. So what is one thing that you personally have learned about trust that will help you improve the way you interact at work? And describe 3 personalized habits that would improve the level of trust at your workplace, and choose one to develop. So kind of really find one that you're thinking, I need to work on this. And describe what benefits to your workplace implementing this habit could bring. So make these notes for yourself. If you would like to share that second one there, one personalized habit that you want to work on developing, that would be great to share that in the chat. So Kathy said, show that you truly care about your team members. Yes, being very genuine with folks. Thanks, Kathy. Karen, if you're still there, feel free to jump in and put down a habit that you want to work on and develop. Eric said communication. Mhm. So maybe add in there, Eric, what kind of communication? More communication, less communication? Not just telling, but listening, right? And as I'm a coach, Eric, you know that the questions are important. So questions and then listening. I actually do a session on that, how to do proper and effective questioning and listening. So there's a formula to it that can work really well. Well, if we were actually in person here, or if we were interacting via video, this probably would have taken a bit long, but because we were limited by our technology here, we're done quite quickly. So Karen said, letting someone know something they do is bothering you or making it harder to do your job. Right, yeah, so being straightforward and direct. And conversely, the other thing is too, is catching people. What do they say in school, Tori? Catch kids doing things right? So also noticing when, you know, something might be difficult for someone and commenting on, okay, I noticed that you did this really well. And it helped me. When you did that, this helped me, made me feel this way. So both ways. All right. Well, thank you for spending time with me today. Here's my deets. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat. If you would like to know anything more or chat with me further, there's my email address and my mobile number too, so you can text me. And if you don't have any questions, I think that we're going to be done for the day.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tracy. We really appreciate you taking the time to show us and teach us all of that stuff. Just a reminder to everybody that they will get a recording of this webinar. So if you want to go back and take a look at what we talked about, you will get that in your email in about 24 hours here. Our next WESC webinar is Pivot to Whole Health, the key to avoiding entrepreneurial burnout, and that's coming up on October 6th. So if you want to sign up for that, you can check out our website, wesc.ca. And again, thank you so much, Tracy, for hosting this webinar for us.
Thanks, Allie, for your support. And I'll be sure to be on the entrepreneurial burnout one for sure. That sounds like something I really need.
Amazing. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a good rest of your day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.